Thank you for listening. A list of content warnings can be found in the episode description. Take care. Enjoy the show. Planescape Torment, the Unofficial audio series. A narrative let's play adapted and produced by RevocerGM, combining in-game audio with additional voice acting through dialogue and descriptions to improve your listening experience. Rediscover the amazing story of the 1999 cult classic isometric video game, Planescape Torment, like you've never heard before. Day 9. Hour unknown. We're being held as captives for trespassing into the realm of the dead nations. We are permitted to wander freely within the sanctuary if we maintain peace amongst the dead. But the hive mind many as one has bound us to strike at their ruler here, the silent king, in exchange for our lives and freedom to search the tombs below. Hargrim, a priest, has also offered us our freedom if we can remove the dustman Swago from his realm. But I doubt we'd make it far if we ignore the Cranium Rat's demands. I don't see how any of this can be done peacefully. Either way, we must find an escape or wait for eternity and oblivion. Rest on the pews of this cramped chamber has not come easy this night, but you have at least been spared the intrusions of unfamiliar guests. Swago, a feverish light sleeper, adjusts his cot above the altar frequently. Mort rests dormant, his unlidded eyes flickering now and then, and Dakon lies still, the glaive resting at his side, rippling gently in rhythm with his breath. You consider the words of his people, and what guidance the teachings of Zerthamon may offer in your current situation. So, while you wait for your companions to awaken, you slide open the plates of the strange, unbroken circle and reveal a new passage within. Know that the rising of the people against the Illithid was a thing built upon many 10 turnings of labor. Many of the people were gathered and taught in secret the ways of defeating their Illithid masters. They were taught to shield their minds and use them as weapons. They were taught the scripture of steel. And most importantly, they were given the knowing of freedom. Some of the people learned the nature of freedom and took it into their hearts. The knowing gave them strength. Others feared freedom and kept silent. But there were those that knew freedom and knew slavery. And it was their choice that the people remained chained. One of these was Vilquar. Vilquar saw no freedom in the rising, but opportunity. He saw that the Illithid had spawned across many of the false worlds. Their worlds numbered so many that their vision was turned only outwards, to all they did not already touch. Vilquar's eye saw that much took place that the Illithid did not see. To the rising, the Illithid were blinded. Vilquar came before his master, the Illithid Zigitaris, with the knowing of the rising. Vilquar added to his chains and offered to be their eyes against the rising. In exchange, Vilquar asked that he be rewarded for his service. The Illithid agreed to his contract. At the bonding of the contract, a dark time occurred. Many were the betrayals Vilquar committed, and many were the people that the Illithids fed upon to stem the rising. It seemed that the rising would die before it could occur, and the Illithid were pleased with Vilquar's eye. It was near the end of this dark time when Zerthamon came to know Vilquar's treacheries. In knowing Vilquar's eye, Zerthamon forced the rising to silence itself, so that Vilquar might think at last his treacheries had succeeded, and the rising had fallen. He knew that Vilquar's eye was filled only with the reward he had been promised. He would see what he wished to see. With greed beating in his heart, Vilquar came upon the Illithid Zigitaris and spoke to his master of his success. He said that the rising had fallen, and the Illithids were safe to turn their eyes outwards once more. He praised their wisdom in using Vilquar's eye, and he asked them for his reward. In his greed blindness, Vilquar had forgotten the knowing of why the people had sought freedom. He had lost the knowing of what slavery meant. He had forgotten what his Illithid masters saw when they looked upon him. And so, Vilquar's betrayal of the people was ended with another betrayal. Vilquar came to know that when Vilquar's eye had nothing left to see, Vilquar's eye was useless. The Illithid gave to Vilquar his reward, opening the cavity of his skull and devouring his brain. Vilquar's corpse was cast upon the fields of husks so its blood might water the poison-stemmed grasses. As you slide the plates closed and seal the circle once again, you notice Swago, risen now, is sat watching you. You catch his eyes, and he hurriedly averts his gaze, stuffing a wedge of parchment into the folds beneath his bedroll.
Apologies. I did not mean to stare.
No problem. Are you all right?
Yes, thank you. I trust you rested well.
Well enough.
Quite. Sleep is not always easy for the troubled mind.
Right.
Perhaps you might share your burdens. I am no stranger to torment.
So I heard.
Oh?
Seer, at the Gathering Dust, told me you'd lost someone close to you.
She did. I was not aware I was the object of such scrutiny amongst my peers.
Emmerich has tasked me to find you. Your sudden disappearance has the Dustman concerned.
Well, then your task is complete. And may I be of no more concern.
Sure. Now I just need to find a way out. I am sorry, Swago, about your friend.
Such compassion has no place within the faction.
The corner of his mouth twitches slightly.
I must go. Thank you for your concern.
Swago rises to his feet and heads towards the doorway, pausing with his hand upon the frame.
As to finding your way out, seek the Matron of Corpses here, Stale Mary. Hargrim is cold and unyielding, and while it may require patience to comprehend her words, Mary is kind and beyond wise. Perhaps she'll see reason and usher your freedom.
Thank you. Perhaps I will. He continues down the corridor and out of sight. Tucking out from beneath his mattress, you just see the corners of the sheaf of bundled pages he had set there. Quickly, you snap the slips of parchment and slip them into your own journal, just as Dakon rises from his sleep. Morning, Dakon. Good morning. His coal-like eyes flicker towards the book in your hands. I do not yet trust him either. What does it say? I haven't read it yet. What words might you find within those pages that might aid our situation? I don't know. Hargrim wants rid of him. He has offered freedom if I can give the cause. Are you willing to sacrifice one for your own gain? He doesn't want him harmed, just removed. Maybe so. Read it. Knowledge can be both a weapon and a shield. In your hands, you may choose who it may harm or protect. What if, as a weapon, it is then turned upon the wielder? Like a child closing their eyes in fear, you'd choose blindness, afraid of what you might see. When one chooses to see only what is before them, they see only a part of the whole. They are blind. Dakon's glaive shimmers, and he looks at you with the slightest smile. You have studied the fourth circle of Zerthamon. I have. You place the stone circle back in Dakon's hands. Vilquar's eye blinded both Vilquar and the Illithids. Just as Vilquar was blinded by his promised reward, so were the Illithids blinded to the true rising. For when they heard Vilquar's words, they turned their sight outwards again, didn't they? And the rising was free to strike. Know that you speak truly. The tentacled ones thought the rising to be no more. When the rising occurred, the ground drank deep of Illithid blood. So was victory born from treachery. It is a curious lesson. Why would it be part of the teachings of Zerthamon? Dakon's blade bleeds into a dead night black, and his voice deepens for a moment. You think he's angry, but you're not so sure. There is much about the way of Zerthamon and his path that is difficult to know. Do you know why Vilquar's eye is part of the way of Zerthamon? It is part of the telling of how our people came to know freedom. It lets us know that there are those, even among the people, who are not of the people. And that even in the greatest treachery, a greater knowing may be achieved. Very well. So what should I do about this? Dakon does not acknowledge the pages in your hand, but instead motions through a sequence of twists and turns on the unbroken circle before sliding forth a plate. Know that you have considered the burden of knowledge, and may now choose to remain vigilant to what you may not see. All right. He then sets the stone into a new configuration and hands it back to you. You needn't share what knowledge you find, but without it, you remove the choice to act under your own will, and instead choose the path of ignorance. The next circle of Zerthamon is open to you. Study it. Then I will hear your words. Very well. I will read it, then speak with you again. Dakon stands and walks out of the chapel, leaving you with the unbroken circle and Swago's journal. The pages date back several weeks, starting with thought-out notes detailing minor events in the mortuary. Day 2 of the 127th. Numbers have been growing these days. More activity within the mortuary. Several adventuring types barged in this morning, searching for the corpse of some Eliath. I thought it odd, but Toranar, the new initiate, quickly dealt with them. I like her. Too zealous, perhaps, in the more direct aspects of death, but I cannot fault her commitment. It goes on like this over several pages, but the tone gradually begins to change, focusing less on the events of the faction and more on his own introspection. Several entries draw your attention. Day 9 of the 127th. The wound healed under the spell, but my arm, it itches. I must seek aid from one of the clerics. I'm sure it is my imagination. I should try and get some rest. Day 12 of the 127th. I let him go, and I don't know why. Lack of sleep is affecting my judgment. It was clear he was trespassing. I would have mistook him for one of the walking corpses, but for the robes he had acquired. I could have torn out his throat and be praised for my duty. No. His writings start to become smudged and scrawling.
Day 13, or is it 14? The hunger's growing. I would swear I have ate more this day than on any of the great feasts of home. Yet my robes hang loose at my waist. I've seen Ordran staring at me. He suspects something. Day 14, it is. I know it now. 7 days since that thing. The alley. Teeth, claws. Like a blur of shadow and fur. I see it now as I close my eyes. Teeth, claws, fur.
The next passage is almost illegible. Reddish brown smears across the page, and the quill appears to have pierced the parchment in places.
He saw the fur. I did not know. His face was... I feel better. It aches no more. What have I done?
Over the next few pages, his writings restore to some coherence. They further detail his being attacked by a were-rat, his regression into lycanthropy, and his flight from the mortuary after unwittingly slaying and devouring a friend. Looking for a hiding place, it seems he came upon the Warrens of Thought and agreed to serve many as one. You now have proof. He is here in the Dead Nations in order to spy on the undead for the hive mind, who hopes to one day control this part of the catacombs. A task not dissimilar to your own, and information that could certainly have either of you executed if Hargrim were to find out.
Hey, Chief, you okay? You look a little green at the gills.
Yeah, I'm fine. We need to find a way out of here. Fast.
And now we're talking. What's the plan?
I want to speak with the Silent King.
I mean, sure. But how you gonna go about that?
I don't know. Come on, let's go. As you walk through the hallways of the Dead Nations, fretting about the uncertainty of your next steps, you pause to marvel at the majesty of this sanctuary. There is a pristine grandeur about the place that defies the grim state of its inhabitants. Every stone is perfectly smooth and polished, each wall finely painted with murals and framed by vaulting archways. An intention and artistry is present here that is beyond idyllic, a curated tableau of civilization. And while there are the ghouls and shambling zombies, it is the even-thoughted skeletons that form the majority of its denizens, the final form of the undead before fading into dust. You could almost feel inadequate in your clumsy living form, as though this body were an inconvenience to the ordered perfection of unlife. Less pristine, a cluster of shuffling bodies limp through one of the corridors, and unlike the finery mantled over the skeletal figures, this rotting herd, as you hear them called, are draped in simple tunics. Patches of ichor and gore ooze through the fabric, and their skin is lathered with ointments and scented oils. They are moaning, with their garbled voices what sounds like a prayer. You see in the center they are bearing a body. You notice it is wearing the ragged robes of a collector from the buried village. They appear to be carrying it into some chamber. Following them inside, you find it is reminiscent of where you awoke within the mortuary. The same coppery stench of blood fills the air. Unlike the mortuary, however, the zombies tending to the dead here show a care for the bodies in front of them, more than just corpses upon a slab. Several are gathered at a dais around one zombie in particular. Its form, androgynous in decay, is almost completely mummified. They are garbed in fresh linen robes, and you suspect this being has outlived many garments that have long since rotted away. One of the acolytes before them moans softly.
No. my name?
Its milky eyes well with a black, roomy substance, the corpse's last remaining tears.
I forgot my name. My name.
They hold up their decaying hands even as one of their fingernails falls off.
Rotting away. Soon, nothing left. Nothing but bones and a name.
The central figure leans in to where the zombie's ear would have been and utters something inaudible. The zombie pulls away, looking confused, biting its lip with what's left of its teeth.
But who? What name?
The figure leans in again, and the look on the zombie's face fills with a great relief and then overwhelming joy.
Yes. Thank you.
As the zombie shuffles away, the central figure raises an arm towards you and ushers you forward.
Greetings.
As you draw in closer, you are engulfed by a warm, sweet medicinal scent. It is comforting and wholly discordant with the rotting visage before you.
Are you Stale Mary?
She nods her head, then raises a finger to her desiccated lips. Beckoning you even closer, within touching distance, a nearly fleshless hand gently brushes your forearm. Her physical voice is barely a croak, but after a moment, her true voice rings clear in your mind. Listen.
How is it that I can hear you?
Speak to us, you can, but you must do it properly.
Can you show me?
She smiles, the hardened skin of her face creaking like thick leather.
Yes.
With her fingertips resting upon your throat, she releases a long exhalation, and like a dry breeze over a meadow, you hear the rustling of gentle voices swell around you.
Well, who are they?
Lingering souls. Reflections of those past. Not all are true dead. Some echoes only. Try. Focus on one. She guides you towards the body of the deceased collector. The corpse is fairly fresh, a day or two at most. You can see parts of it have been gnawed away by rat teeth. Mary takes your hands and rests them upon the corpse's throat. As you exhale, a radiance blooms from your fingertips like petals of aqua blue, and a singular voice emerges from the noise.
What's going on?
I just have a few questions.
Oh? What did you want to know? No.
Who are you?
Me? I'm Bert. Me and Loudon, me best mate, we ran.
Why did you run?
For our lives. We'd already lost that old Dalt Arkin in the upper tombs. Then Grace. We bolted from Grace and the thing got in. Loudon headed for a tunnel, and we knew it was bad, some trap crypt, but he was so scared he didn't care. I heard him die. Had all the swag from this run too. And it were a good run.
Trap crypt?
Aye. Spikes, blades, blood, grates in the ground. If he's still in one piece, he'll be there. You go looking for him, watch your step.
I'm sure. What happened to Grace?
Something horrible. Open a crypt and she were there. Loudon and me. We shoved Grace inside and bolted. Heard him screaming.
I see. How did you die?
What? I'm dead? No. I must be. I fled the crypt's queen and ran through the tombs. Loudon, well, you already know. He went into a bad place. Me, I kept running. I couldn't see. I ran right into a wall. bled for a while. Awoke to rats chewing me. They ate me to death.
The voice begins to fade, as if whatever power was binding him is starting to break.
I was going to make it out of here, bones alone. Too dangerous. Rhyss.
The corpse falls silent. They will only share what their heart allows.
Can I talk to any dead body?
Son, others too dead. They remain quiet.
Tell me of yourself. How long have you been here?
I am known here as Stale Mary. I have been dead a long time. My memory mostly gone. I stay to guide the others as they lose themselves. Care for the quiet ones.
Lose themselves? What do you mean?
Our bodies rot away, and we forget. Our minds falter. Our hearts fade. A difficult time. We learn to find new memories. Join those most free of flesh. Rebuild what was broken in the name of the Silent King.
Tell me of the Silent King.
He is the Silent King.
Yes, but what can you tell me of him?
That is all. He is the Silent King. Through us, he guides the dead nations.
Through you and Hargrim?
Yes.
Well, tell me about Hargrim.
Hargrim is our leader. Governs those free of flesh. He is concerned. Worried.
Why is he concerned?
Many reasons. Swago. Acasti.
Go on.
Swago preaches death, wants us to die. He is a dustman. Acasti is anger and hunger. She would want to kill everyone.
Mary, I need to speak with the Silent King. Can you help me?
Why?
What do you mean?
Why do you need to speak with the Silent King?
I need to leave this place, Mary. I've so much to do. And to be imprisoned here simply for stumbling upon the dead nations, it isn't right. Please, I ask only for a modicum of compassion. Can you help me?
Stale Mary is quiet for a time, then nods. There is a way. It is perilous, though, for all mortal life. If you seek him, you may never return.
Please, Mary. I have no other choice.
Her ancient features soften with a deep sadness, and she points to the first of 3 archways along the wall behind her. Close your eyes. Think of the Silent King. And walk.
Thank you, Mary. Farewell.
Think of the Silent King. Consider him. You must believe. As you and Mort approach the archways, you see that each only depresses about 3 feet into the stone wall, and you notice a sudden drop in temperature within the chamber. As you step closer, the sound about you becomes dead and muffled. You can't even hear the moaning of the zombies nearby, as if you had stepped behind some invisible wall.
Whoa, Chief, what just happened?
I'm not certain. You sure you want to follow?
Hey, come on. I stick to your leg.
That's the deal.
All right.
Facing the blank stones, you brace yourself, close your eyes, and consider the Silent King. What is he? You've heard so little spoken about him directly, but his power seems to bind the denizens here, influencing every aspect of their unlife. And from what you've seen, the civilization that has been formed around him is stable, balanced. A simple, ordered society, with craft and work as ideals, and the sharing of knowledge not as a resource, but a pastime. No struggle, no commerce, no change. With this thought in your mind, you begin to walk. It's odd, knowing now not to try and guess what any particular portal might feel like to cross. You still could never have expected this. With your eyes closed, it's difficult to fully grasp the situation, but first it's almost as if you hadn't stepped through a portal at all. Although the wall in front of you had clearly been solid stone, each step you take forward seems to draw you no closer to encountering it. The muffled sound doesn't change, and deadened as it is, you get little feedback on your surroundings, unsure even if your feet are in fact striking the ground. Anticipation brings a tension to your spine. You hold your breath. You can feel the pulsing within your veins. Then, after several heartbeats, it stops. Everything stops. You can no longer feel your legs as they stride. The cool air no longer prickles your skin. You cannot remember if you just breathed in or out. There is an emptiness in your lungs, but no shortage of breath. Just nothing. Endless nothing. No concept of time or space. If you had thought to count, you have already forgotten which number you'd have reached. Nothing. Thank you for listening to Planescape Torment, the unofficial audio series, a RevocerGM production. To support the show and those involved, please consider subscribing to our Patreon or donating via our Ko-fi page. Links to both are in the description.